Ahoy, mateys, and welcome to another episode of I'm Ready, a SpongeBob SquareCast. My name is Captain Eric, and we are continuing our sail through the second season of SpongeBob SquarePants. This week's episode is Graveyard Shift, one of my favorite episodes of SpongeBob SquarePants, and joining me this week is an animator for the SpongeBob SquarePants Movie Rehydrated, sharkieboi. We have a wonderful conversation about how they got into art, how they got into SpongeBob SquarePants, and of course we eventually get into the Graveyard Shift episode and have an actual wonderful conversation about the show and other things such as working late at night and whatnot, so definitely stay tuned for that. Now, if you head over to our YouTube channel, you will notice a bit of small rebranding that I've started. The channel is no longer branded after I'm Ready, a SpongeBob SquareCast. I have since just renamed the channel as Captain Eric, and there will be more rebranding for that moving forward on the channel and on the Facebook page. But why, Captain Eric? Why are you doing this? Well, it seems to be that I'm releasing a lot more video content than I ever anticipated in the beginning, so I'm going to grow those channels more beyond just this podcast and just this week in Nickelodeon history. Although I just have to let you know, if you are a listener of this show, this is my foundation. This is my rock. If I decide not to do this show, then I'm deciding to not be a content creator at all. So, don't worry about any other ventures taking over the Squarecast. This is my big thing that I'm doing. So, but all the videos I'm making as of right now are going to be Nickelodeon related at this point in time. Down the road, I would like to branch out into other animated shows and to show my love for other things out there in this world. But for now, I'm just kind of branching off into other Nickelodeon content. The reason for this being that the video I put up of the reaction and review of the Nickelodeon All-Stars Brawl trailer brought in such a great response that I got to capitalize on that. So I have a big video that I've been working on for the last 48 hours. It is shot. It is being edited. This isn't like something that I'm just pie in the sky thinking about. Definitely pay attention to our YouTube channel over the next week and wait for that video to come out. It is a long one. It is big. It is the most effort I've put into any project that I've made thus far as my time as a content creator over the last 10 years. That is something. So pay attention for that. Search for Captain Eric on YouTube. If you still search up I'm Ready, a SpongeBob SquareCast, definitely the channel is the first thing to pop up. So pay attention to that. If you can follow us on any forms of social media, it's always a big amount of help. Any way that you can support the show is a massive help, and I appreciate all of it. But we're going to take a quick break for our usual commercials. When we come back, we'll start the conversation up with sharkieboi.
Night, 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 night.
Will you please?
Magic Conj, will I ever get to meet Tom Kenny?
Maybe someday.
Oh, so you're saying there's a chance. Okay. Should I tell fans of the show how they can support us?
Yes.
Goofy Goobers, supporting the show is shockingly easier than catching a blue jellyfish. Right from our anchor page, anchor.fm/SpongePod, you can find links to all of our social media and a support button if you happen to have a few extra clams. Also follow us on twitch.tv/SpongeBobPodcast, where it's not only the official home to our sister show, Video Bob Game Pants, it's also where I stream live drawings of various Nickelodeon characters and host the opportunity for commissions and giveaways. Lastly, the official merchandise store is now open at redbubble.com/people/SpongePod, where various designs will be uploaded inspired by our show, including our official logo, which is now available on a multitude of products like t-shirts, stickers, duvet covers, and even a shower curtain. This is a podcast by a fan, for fans, and will always be fan-driven. Any way you see fit on supporting our show is much appreciated. Thank you, and enjoy.
Who wants a Krabby Patty at 3 in the morning?
Oh boy, 3 a.m.
The thought of working a 24-hour shift at any establishment, let alone a restaurant, sounds like a crazy ordeal. Now, if I had to stay up late to do any job like record a podcast, I would have no problem doing that with my guest on this week's episode. Today, my guest, sharkieboi, owner of the Am a Crazy Shark YouTube channel and contributor on the SpongeBob SquarePants Movie Rehydrated project. sharkieboi, thank you for joining me on today's episode.
Hey, it's my pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. I mean, today's episode has to do with working late, and I got to imagine that as an artist, you've had some late nights working on some art.
Oh
I at
yeah.
least have to assume, right?
Oh yeah, like I would make oh yeah, some of the videos I would make they would go well into midnight, like around 2 a.m. or something.
I feel like
Uh,
that's
uh,
just the most creative time.
Oh yeah, yeah, especially like I work whenever I work, it's very often at night or during at night or during the evening.
Very on brand.
Yeah, and yeah, and yeah, I don't really have much else to add to that.
um, now, as far as art goes, what got you into art? What's your earliest memory of it?
My earliest memory of art, that's a difficult question. I did watch like lots of cartoons and I read especially a lot of comic strips when I was younger. Like I was really into Calvin and Hobbes books and whatnot.
Oh, those are classics.
Yeah, those are definitely like one of the earliest like artistic like influences. Because I am also because I do also do some like not just video editing, but I also do like some artwork, but it's kind of seldom seen. I do intend on expanding on that more often. But I did make one of the videos on my YouTube channel is actually like this animation I did years ago where it's like this cartoon of like SpongeBob beating up his friends,
As he sometimes does with karate
of
or in
course.
various means.
But it's like but in this cartoon that I made when I was like 15 or something, his eyes have like no pupils at all. He's like a soulless monster, and nobody really seems to react much. He like he does all sorts of crazy stuff.
Just
But don't
just
worry,
goes in a bit of a trance.
he gets his comeuppance at the end, and it's all to the lovely tune of Tiny Tim's "Living in the Sunlight."
I mean, I wouldn't have it any other way. If SpongeBob was going to go into a trance where he was just going to take out everybody in Bikini Bottom, that would be the music choice that I would go with for that battle.
At least on the YouTube version, I remembered uploading that into Newgrounds once, and they made me change the song. So I just picked I picked one of the production musics that they had in the background. I don't remember the exact name of the song, but it was actually at the very end of an episode you recently covered, Shanghai, where
Oh
the Flying
goodness,
Dutchman
yeah.
was chasing them around the RV in that tie dye background, and it's that song that's like I can't really do. It's like like that song.
The attempt is gold there. I know exactly what piece of music you're talking about, so you got that down.
Yeah.
Um, how did you get involved with the Rehydrated project? Where did that come from?
Well, I mean, first I should just briefly discuss my memories with SpongeBob.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, you know what? Forget the Rehydrated project this second. I mean, how long have you known SpongeBob? How long have you been a fan?
A very long time, ever since I was like 3, 4. It was like one. It was like one of the first. The cartoon was like one of the first things I've ever obsessed about as a child. And like when you're like an autistic child and you get obsessed with something, you get obsessed with it.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
it becomes your life. It consumes your life for, could be a couple weeks, could be a couple months.
yeah, what's funny is that my family, like I think it took a while for us to get cable, so we didn't really get Nickelodeon, but they would get like buy like DVDs and stuff of like SpongeBob and like Rugrats. Like there's yeah, I was really into Rugrats too. Like the stuff I watched on Nickelodeon would be, regular stuff like Rugrats, Fairly Odd Parents would be there, and whatnot. But SpongeBob is definitely the one they pushed the most. That's the one that like I latched onto the easiest. Like the DVDs I had were like the Nautical Nonsense DVD,
Oh, the early
and
stuff.
yeah, like the very early like one episode, well not one episode, but like one disc stuff. And I remembered getting like the complete second season for Christmas when it came out, and that was a really big deal for me because it was like 20 episode, lots of episodes all in one package.
Yeah, and what's crazy is the Nautical Nonsense DVD. It's funny that you bring that up.
But that actually had this episode that we were covering today, Graveyard Shift. It had it on that DVD months before it even aired on in the United States.
Oh wow, I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
that alongside Club SpongeBob, you just had on this DVD for months.
I don't know if I don't know if I remembered that episode being on that DVD. The other SpongeBob DVD that I had that I really latched on to was Sea Stories. It had like I think the special features of Sea Stories had like Shanghai, but it was divided into 3 episodes where like it's all like the same episode except the ending is different.
Yeah, they probably showed off the other alternate endings of that episode, with Squidward and Patrick getting the final wish.
Yeah, kind of separately. So it's like three different versions of the same episode. It's like all 11 minutes, but the ending's just different.
Yeah, Nickelodeon always put out pretty quality SpongeBob DVDs. Now, so you've been a fan of SpongeBob for a very long time. Have you kept up with the show as it's been on television, or have you kind of like lapsed in and out of watching it?
Well, the length of time for when I lapsed out of it is interesting because like I was little, I was really big, really huge into the show. Like I saw the first movie in theaters when it came out,
Oh,
and
same
then
here. Had to at least several times.
yeah, and I was still of course like into it then like around 5, like honestly the first time that I really started to kind of notice something off with SpongeBob that I wasn't sure I was liking was how Nickelodeon would just promote regular episodes in like the most clickbaity way. Well, whatever the term of clickbaity is. Like the first thing episode I really think of is that episode where SpongeBob breaks his spatula. I just remembered that episode being really lame and boring, but the marketing that Nickelodeon had for it was that it was promoting that SpongeBob is gonna serve a monster Krabby Patty.
Yeah, well, I mean, in the world of marketing, they have to do whatever they can to get eyes on the product, and probably during those years, Nickelodeon was seeing a decline as more people were kind of tuning into streaming and DVRing episodes, so they'd have to promote however crazy things they could just to get kids to watch it live.
Well, this is around 2005, so like streaming stuff like Netflix hasn't quite
Oh, but
picking up
the
yet.
DVR issue
Yeah,
was definitely
DVR
still
definitely.
2005 was a problem. So because for a
Oh
lot
yeah,
of advertisers, I mean, they don't care that you DVR'd the show because they know you're going to fast forward through all the commercials.
yeah, right. But yeah, right, and yeah, right. So they would do marketing like that. Then and I would end up just being felt kind of cheated because it was just a regular lame episode that they really marketed because I just remembered they used all the footage of the fish going like Monster Krabby Patty, and that made me hype for that week, being like, "Whoa, SpongeBob's gonna take over a Monster Krabby Patty. What's that gonna be like? What's that even gonna be? How's he even gonna do that?" And then first like 30 seconds or so, he breaks his spatula. The rest of the episode becomes him crying over his spatula and the next and then like this is like season 4 I think.
Yep.
Season 4 is a really weird season because it's super transitional because there are some episodes in it that are good, but the steeping quality from when Steven Hillenburg is running the show to like the first season where he's completely out of the show, like has nothing to do, there is such a noticeable quality like steepness that
Yeah, I
that
mean, and that you could
in, hi-
pretty much
in
every
hindsight,
following season too. It just has its up
but
and downs.
definitely in every following season. I mean, you'll get to that eventually, though.
That's I purposely stopped following SpongeBob like newer episodes for a while, knowing I would eventually get to a podcast like this, and now I'm on that path. So yeah, I'll get to some episodes I just have never seen before, and it'll be my first time.
Oh yeah, and the crazy thing was that the whole marketing thing, it still got to me sometimes. Like around season 5-ish, I think, like 2006 or 7. I think that's kind of when I sort of stopped watching it like regularly, or at least tracking down. Well, I don't know, because like whenever Nickelodeon was showing it, which is all the time, I would be like, okay, nothing's on Cartoon Network or Disney Channel. I barely watch Disney Channel, honestly. But what's on Nickelodeon? Oh, episode I haven't seen. What's this? And then it would be some episode about like SpongeBob building stone sculptures, and then like
That's certainly an out there one.
or like the one where like Squidward gets covered in cement, or or just other stuff. But then once in a while they would do a huge marketing event where they go and SpongeBob goes to Atlantis and meets David Bowie.
Well, being
And
their
then
first like TV movie, I thought like that was probably my most disappointing SpongeBob episode, simply because it was his first movie on television, so of course it was going to be a big deal, and then it kind of wasn't.
yeah, and then like a year later, I think that's when they were promoting Truth or Square. And the link and the strings they pulled on that were like so insane, where it was like, witness SpongeBob and Sandy getting married, and not only that, but Mr. Krabs is going to reveal to SpongeBob the secret to the Krabby Patty formula.
I actually really liked the marketing for Truth and Square, just to go wild, throw whatever at the wall, just to get people to tune in. I
Yeah, and
give
it,
that a pass, at
yeah,
least somewhat.
somewhat, because when I watched the actual special, and it was like, what, they're just in like the rafters of the Krusty Krab for like an hour, and then it cuts to like Patchy the Pirate's pathetic like journey in getting a fictional character's attention, like it like again, that sort of, I believe it's at this point where I was kind of starting to pick up on SpongeBob not being as good as I once remembered it. And then they have like that other special with Johnny Depp in it, where it's like a wave or something. Like again,
Yeah, he played a surfer there.
yeah, I played like a weirdly realistic looking fish.
I remember
Mine's
it, SpongeBob versus the Big One.
yeah. Johnny Depp's fish design reminds me of like Matt Damon's design from Arthur when he appeared in that.
I
But
have
it
no frame of reference for that. I'll have to look that up.
Yeah,
I haven't seen
but anyway,
Arthur in so long, but apparently it's still going on to this day.
yeah, yeah. So I think around 11 or 12 or something, I was like, yeah, SpongeBob sucks now. It's for like little kids or whatever. And then for some reason I was like, oh wait, they have the first 100 episodes of SpongeBob on DVD at Best Buy. I should get that for my birthday money.
Now, even when you weren't really liking the show, did you maintain SpongeBob in your art?
But but sort of. I do, well, I do remember one time for my ninth birthday, I think, like my parents made me like a SpongeBob cake where it was like SpongeBob in the shape of the number nine. That was pretty cool. And I don't know if I probably was drawing, because I drew a lot. I would draw like SpongeBob and friends a lot, and like it isn't until when I got older, especially when I did that animation when I was 15, that I was like, SpongeBob is such a tough character to draw. He has so many finite details, like in his cheeks, and how the outline around him, it isn't straight. It's like sort of curved looking.
Yeah, there's such an art form to get the design right, like the shape first before you even add any of the features, because it's got to curve a little bit, but then seem right when you're gonna put the square pants in, it's got to straighten out.
It's definitely a character design pre 2010, where they would just make like the smoothest looking figures and like the like simplest like art choices and whatever. But yeah, when I got that 100 episode DVD, I think when I was like 12 or something, I was like, oh yeah, SpongeBob's lame. Half of these DVD, half of the discs here are like season 4 and beyond. I'm gonna throw them away.
Oh
And
no,
I actually did that. Where in hindsight today, I would not do that at all.
there's
But
still
again,
gold in those.
I know I was sin. I know I threw like the latter half of like that TVD away, which had like the documentary on it and everything, and which I would not, a mistake that I would not do, that I would not intend to repeat. So I only have like the first 8 discs that all have season 1 and 1 through 3 in them, and it was upon when I was like I would rewatch those like whenever my family would go on a vacation to like a resort or whatever, we would put like those on with like me, my brother, and we would laugh at them, and I would realize, yeah, this show was once really great. It was once golden.
Right, right.
And around like that, around, and around, yeah, I actually saw the second movie in theaters when it came out because I was interested, because by that point I was like, well, it is another like SpongeBob movie, and literally ever since childhood, because I liked the first movie so much, I was like, I wish they made another SpongeBob movie, and they actually made another one,
Yeah, they eventually
which was
got to.
so like just so surreal to me, and that when the marketing was like SpongeBob and friends are in the real world, I was sort of iffy about that, but I was like, well, there's some cartoon stuff in it, maybe,
Never,
hopefully, if I'm lucky, maybe the
never
first half
let
hour
the
or so.
marketing of any project just like, change your idea on seeing it. There has been so many movies with terrible trailers and so many bad movies with really good trailers. I, never go by the marketing on something.
Yeah, right. Because my brother and I went into that expecting just goofy real world shenanigans, and at about like the hour mark or 40-minute mark or whatever, where like SpongeBob and Plankton are in like some taco restaurant trying to build a time machine. I was like leaning over to my brother, and was like, they're really taking their time to get out of water here.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, they could take all the time they want. I'll soak in all that beautiful 2D animation. Speaking of
And
2D animation, um, today's episode Graveyard Shift, which,
yeah,
by the way, one of my favorite season 2 episodes, one of my favorite SpongeBob episodes of all time. I don't know where that
I'm
falls
here.
for you. Oh, same?
Oh, yeah, same here. When I was part of this project. I didn't even mention how I even got to like involved in this project to begin with. Yeah. So I was just so like Shrek Retold came out. I was like really big into like these like fan submitted like project reenactments and whatever, and I was like, I should join in on one of those. And I somehow got word that there was gonna be a SpongeBob movie like reanimated. Maybe I was just searching, reanimated projects on Twitter or whatever, and I was like, I should get in on that. I should make something for that, and I did.
And your scene is all done and ready to go?
Yeah, my scene's all done and ready to go. There's like one little goof I made on it that's too late to fix now, but whatever. And what my scene is, it's a very short 4-second snippet where it's SpongeBob and Patrick, they're in the Sug Tug, and they're like, and this is right after they discovered bubbles. They could blow bubbles in there. And it was specifically the part where SpongeBob and Patrick are like popping bubbles, like SpongeBob's like popping bubbles with his tongue, and Patrick's like biting on them with his teeth. But I took a little bit of liberty that scene where, since it's like 4 shots long, where it's like shot one is SpongeBob, popping bubble, shot two Patrick, and then it's just sort of repeat. Aside for those latter 2 shots, to like add my own spin to it,
Oh, of course.
where
I would expect any animator on the project to throw a little bit of their own spice that they can into their scenes.
we're like for the third shot, as in the second shot of SpongeBob popping his bubble, I like drew SpongeBob's face kind of grotesque looking where he's popping the bubble, and for the fourth shot with Patrick, I went really crazy, and I had Patrick just lay on the corner with a TV just playing the SpongeBob movie video game on the GameCube. And I had footage, and I put actual footage of like the movie game on the television and everything.
What a classic game too, by the way. I don't know if you've ever
Yeah,
had the opportunity to play it through,
I
but
played it. I actually played it quite often. Like not long ago. Like I think even during the pandemic, I was like, oh yeah, I still have that game. I wonder if it's fun, and it's still pretty fun. I mean, it's Battle for the Bikini Bottom reskin, but it's still fun.
oh, absolutely, it holds up. Now let's get back to Graveyard Shift because there's something I got to bring up here that is really I got to mention to any workers out there.
Hmm.
There are certain lines that your superiors just cannot cross, and there are rules that have to be followed. I don't know how
Oh
it
yeah.
works underwater, but I can tell you that Mr. Krabs is a consistent breaker of OSHA violations.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
there is no way that your boss could come to you at the end of your shift and then just make it a rule that you're open all the time.
Yeah, when rewatching this, I was surprised at how well Squidward even takes this comparatively because Squidward's like his reaction at most is just what, like, kind of ridiculous, like, oh man, I have to stay here even longer.
Yeah,
But
yeah. Now, SpongeBob, who loves working at the Krusty Krab, is of course ecstatic to be able to there be that, live at the Krusty Krab essentially.
of course, it's like a sleepover, only except we'll be all sweaty and covered in grease.
That's never a good thing. Never a good thing. What's super interesting, and I don't know if this was planned at all, but this episode first debuted in America on September 6, 2002. Now, like I said, months earlier on March 12th, this was first released on DVD, and even earlier in Canada that year on January 24th, it debuted. But September 6th is interesting because it is actually the birthday of the actor who played
Max Shrek?
Nosferatu, Max Shrek. His
Yeah.
his 123rd birthday is when this episode debuted. So, in somewhat of an honor to the man, I feel like it had to have been planned at some point for that
It's
to happen.
It was October, right?
Yeah.
Good Halloween month. It's good. It's very good fortune that the actor who plays the spooky
September.
monster man.
So I mean, it's
Oh,
close
September.
enough. I mean, it's right
Close
there in
enough,
fall
yeah.
season.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. But we might be jumping a little ahead and
We
talking
are
about
jumping a little
Nosferatu.
ahead now. Before then, there is a name now. If you're a fan of Phineas and Ferb, if you watch this episode now, a certain name might strike you in the opening credits as Dan Povenmire, one of the creators of Phineas and Ferb. This is his first SpongeBob episode as a writer. He wrote alongside Doug Lawrence and Jay Lender, and he was also a storyboard artist. Dan Povenmire was. Now, they actually tried to pitch Phineas and Ferb to Nickelodeon, I possibly around this time, and
Oh
Nickelodeon, of
yeah.
course, passed on the project.
Mm. Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I was reading stuff about how like they tried to pitch Phineas and Ferb to like a million different networks and whatnot, and only Disney were the only takers.
Which is crazy to know just how popular that show has become in our culture.
Yeah,
To
Phineas and
this
Ferb.
day,
Yeah,
beloved.
it had like it's on like Disney Plus and whatnot, and they still like do all sorts of other stuff. But yeah, it's funny because when watching this episode, I wouldn't really immediately assume that, oh, this is written by Phineas and Ferb people, cause like, well, for one thing, it's not a musical, but
Yeah, there
also
was no music anywhere to be found.
unless you count like the spooky instrumentals and whatnot. But also the general sense of humor just feels like sort of different from the kind of stuff that Phineas and Ferb would do. Or Phineas and Ferb is kind of deliberately formulaic and whatnot.
I tried, as watching this episode, I actually tried to vision Phineas and Ferb or what their brand of humor is, and just to see if there was anything. And I, I, I got a certain feeling, but I certainly didn't feel any sort of that classic Phineas and Ferb brand humor. But this still, though, the way it handles jokes between Squidward and SpongeBob is very. You can there's certain uniqueness that I think Dan
Yeah.
brought to the script here.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Well, there's well, of course, there's two other writers, but yeah, you could definitely see like bits and pieces of each person. Although I don't know Jay Lender as well, but Jay Lender did contribute to like the big Nosferatu ending, which again we'll get into.
Absolutely. So yeah, Mr. Krabs. Now, what's really weird is even at this point in the show, SpongeBob has been working at the Krusty Krab for a long time. Now, normally the Krusty Krab closes at 6 p.m., but for some reason on this episode, it's been
Closes
it's
at 8.
p.m. It's shocking to me that it wasn't until tonight, on this night, that Mr. Krabs even had the thought of a late night, like the idea that fish would want food after a certain point in time. He was amazed by that.
Yeah, and this won't be the only time we'll be dealing with like a 24-hour
Oh no, of course, fear of a Krabby Patty immediately comes to mind as like the next time SpongeBob agrees to never leaving the Krusty Krab.
And it's so interesting, like how again, just how glibly they deal with the fact that they're open 24 hours. Because at most, Squidward's just like, "Ah, man, I have to stay here longer and stuff." And SpongeBob's all ecstatic. And it really only stays restricted to like this one episode, because in classic SpongeBob fashion, it's never brought up again. But in something like Fear of the Krabby Patty, the greater ramifications of that really seep into that episode. While in here,
Right,
it's just
right.
treated as like a minor annoyance at best, and it
Yes.
really just an excuse to have them be in the restaurant overnight.
It worked out in the end. I don't think we would really question it that much. But the one thing I do want to question is how Mr. Krabs in such a short amount of time was able to get a neon sign installed. Like within
Yeah,
maybe an hour or two after he left, or at
yeah,
least a
right,
few hours, he had an open forever sign just installed on the inside, on the outside, and there weren't that many customers. I don't think the
right.
amount of money he's spending on electricity and even as low as they're getting paid, the money that he has to pay SpongeBob and Squidward to be there makes up for the money he's making. Because we saw like 2 or 3 customers throughout the whole night, and that was it.
And like that one, yeah, yeah, with the exception of like that one opening shot where he gets like trampled by a bunch of random fish. There really are they really only get like three like yeah like 3 or 4 customers in like that one shot. And then for like the rest of the episode, it's just completely vacant, which we will talk about the atmosphere here in a second. But yeah,
Yeah, the atmosphere in this episode is they nail it right on the head when they want
I
you to
love it.
feel creeped out by Bikini Bottom at night. This is the episode to go to.
I know. It's like I know because it's not well, it's sort of like a Halloween episode, kind of, but it's not like explicitly Halloween like that. Like the other wasn't that episode literally called no Scaredy Pants?
Yeah, yeah. Like to have an atmosphere like this outside of a generic Halloween episode is certainly a treat.
Yeah, it's that and what that other episode where they kill the health inspector. What was it called? Was it like Patty Hype? No, it wasn't Patty Hype. It was I forgot the name of that other episode. Have you talked about it yet or?
We haven't gotten to that one yet. No, that I believe that's the nasty patty one.
Yeah, Nasty Patty. Yeah, yeah, because that's something I noticed with a lot of early SpongeBob is that they really do a great job kind of nailing the atmosphere to like whenever a story has a certain tone to it. Like what? Well, SpongeBob and Mr. Krabs think they may have killed a guy, and it's shot and it's all presented sort of like a noir lighting and whatnot. Like it looks noticeably murkier.
Oh well, it always hope. I always hope that artists are fans of those kind of projects when they're working on episodes like this. Like I hope they were fans of horror movies and they get to really explore how you can really make Bikini Bottom as creepy as you can without it being overtly Halloween.
Exactly, and this episode does it perfectly because yeah, it does it perfectly as these artists because like they've always have such a good usage of like the color green, like it's so like dark green and the flowers are drawn so differently, and you can tell they're working on like a limited TV show budget, but like they do some really smart choices with how they present like Bikini Bottom at night, and I'm like, this is honestly a really well directed episode upon like viewing it again.
Oh, absolutely. It hits every point it's supposed to. Now, the reason for this creepiness about Bikini Bottom is that as the night goes on and SpongeBob is super enthusiastic about being there overnight with Squidward, Squidward decides enough is enough. I got to put this kid in his place. Decides to tell
Uh-huh.
him the tale of the hash-slinging slasher. An urban tale that Squidward pretty much is making up on the spot of
Yeah.
an old fry cook who used to work at the Krusty Krab, who accidentally chopped off his hand, replaced it with a rusty spatula, and then being run over by a bus.
Upon rewatching this, like a lot of jokes I actually missed. There's a lot of jokes I actually kind of missed upon Squidward's stories because I'm focused on all the crazy visuals, which we'll also get into in a second. But I love how Squidward's like making up the story on the spot, but there are like certain eccentricities to it, like certain things like he's clearly making it up as he went along, being like he was hit by a bus, and then at his funeral they fired him.
Yeah,
Or,
I mean, he would have to be. I mean, I think when you get hit by a bus, you're pretty much quitting your job at that point. There's no need to be
yeah,
fired. But poor guy, Had to get his term papers at his funeral.
Yeah, and then yeah, and then when he's like every what day is it? Tuesday. Every Tuesday night.
Every Tuesday night, the ghost of the hash-slinging slasher returns to the spot of the Krusty Krab. The lights will flicker on and off at first, then the phone will ring with no one answering on the other end, and then finally
Dude,
the
can I have some ketchup?
oh yeah, here you go. And then the bus will arrive with the hash-slinging slasher. Apparently, who I mean, seems pretty consistent for an every Tuesday night type ghost.
Yeah, and also that's a good name, the hash slinging slasher.
Yeah, for those
You know
that
what?
don't know, oh, what you were you going to talk about hash slinging?
No, you go ahead. You're the
No, no,
host.
you brought that up. I didn't notice you were teeing that up for me. Go ahead, take that shot.
Okay, well, I don't have as much to say as you thought, but I basically learned today that the word that hash slinging means like restaurant worker.
Yeah, yeah,
Or
pretty much.
it has a good ring to it though. Hash slinging, the trash bringing, the slash singing.
Of course, as you would expect these kind of episodes to go, as much as SpongeBob is terrified of Squidward's story, the tides turn on Squidward himself as some of these things start happening around 3 a.m., which is unbeknownst, and I don't know if you know this, but 3 a.m. is just the scariest time of the day.
Uh-huh.
It's where the weirdest stuff can happen.
From experience, yeah. Well, not from like actual working experience. Like, God forbid I'd work at 3. Well, at a place at least, but at home, like, yeah, 3 a.m. is pretty spooky sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. The lights start going on and off. Squidward, of course, kind of shrugs this off. SpongeBob as well. The phone rings. No one is, of course, on the other end of the line. And
Oh,
then,
before.
oh no, the
Oh, sorry.
walls.
The walls would leak green slime. Oh wait, they always do that.
Probably one of my favorite visual gags in this whole episode is that apparently
Ki-
it's completely normal, at least at 3 a.m. or normal some of the time, where the walls in the Krusty Krab will somehow leak green slime.
A Squidward would know that. I don't know.
Yeah, I
But
can't imagine this happens during the day when customers are in there.
well, you never know. The Krusty Krab has some pretty questionable like like ser like services. Well, not services. Like you never like the building's pretty old. You never know
Yeah,
what's
yeah,
gonna
he
happen.
definitely the piping in there is probably the worst repairs you can imagine, the cheapest repairs, so it needs some work
Yeah, the
done.
maintenance. That was the word I was looking for.
Absolutely.
Maintenance. But one thing that we kind of skimmed over that I wanted to bring up is like on account of this being a well-directed episode, it has such fun like creative visuals, like visual jokes, like all the weird arm jokes that they do with SpongeBob.
Yeah, they have SpongeBob have a lot of fun with his sponginess in this episode.
Like how because limbs grow back on sponges, which they don't bring up too often. Like in the episode Pressure, they mentioned that SpongeBob could just reproduce numerous offsprings.
Yeah, so he could just rip off his arms and get them replaced in no time. So it's a
Yeah, but in this one, they do so many creative things when first when he rips off a million arms and they all kind of run away in fear. Well, then when Squidward's telling the story, he's like chattering his teeth, kind of like a typeboard, which is a very classic kind of cartoon gag that I see a lot in like Popeye or whatever.
well, then we get
And
the
then
classic SpongeBob gif of him with the popcorn bucket of arms just
well
taking
before that he's then like swallowing his arms like kind of like a paper shredder.
Yep, and
And then
getting the
it
full sounds and everything.
And then it gets to the popcorn bucket full of his own arms. And that's like such an ingenious like visual. That's such an ingenious visual gag.
They had a lot of fun with it. I like these kind of SpongeBob episodes when they can kind of tone it down and just
Yeah,
involve one or two characters in
yeah,
one
yeah. The
location.
state, yeah, it feels very low stakes. Like it's very, like it forces you to think about. Another really good one is that one where was it Can You Spare a Dime? No, it wasn't. It was the one where "Are you finished with your errands?" That's not the actual episode name, but
Yeah,
like it's worth.
absolutely. But yeah, very similar concept. Just having, I mean, SpongeBob and Squidward will always work and bounce off each other well. They
Yeah,
have
they have a.
that that
Oh yeah, they have a.
relationship.
They have a great dynamic in this episode alone, with like SpongeBob, being overeager about like working at the Krusty Krab at night, and Squidward just grabbing a baseball bat that he had in his desk the whole time and telling the customer to just hit him in the head.
Yeah. Now, once we get all of these elements out of the way, the last part really is for the bus to arrive. Which, of
Oh
course,
yeah,
if a bus has any normal route, if for some reason it parks outside of the Krusty Krab at
yeah. For
3 a.m.
some reason, yeah, Squidward states that this is a very unusual for buses to do. So I'm not sure how this random like guy managed to find a bus that goes by this late that takes
Yeah,
this route.
yeah, and it makes it. There's a lot more questions actually once we even get to the end of this, but
Oh, yeah,
we see the outline of what appears to be the hash-slinging slasher. I love the gag they pull here, which is that the outline of what you think is the hash-slinging slasher, what you appear to be a head and some evil-looking eyes, turns out to be the snout of a completely fine and cheerful looking creature once he's seen in the light and not in the
yeah,
darkness of Bikini Bottom.
yeah. Very goofy looking creature. Yeah, and I also love that like SpongeBob is touched that Squidward would pull off standing in like the middle of the road, like dressed in his outfit, while Squidward's also right there at the same time. And that as they're like clinging on to each other, afraid of what the hatch slinging slasher is going to get them or whatever. Emma, Emma like SpongeBob offhandedly mentions how he uses Squidward's clarinet to clog his toilets.
Yeah, and apparently that action, like he was pretty much telling the truth as they confirmed that in a later episode that at least Squidward's clarinet was used at least one time to unclog a toilet. Um,
Yeah,
now
wonder how he discovered that.
the hash slinging slasher, the character is incidental 189, but he also goes by the name of Richard, voiced by D.
Huh.
Bradley Baker. He has appeared in other episodes, a cameo appearance in Snooze You Lose, and he is actually in the book Another Day, Another Sand Dollar. So, um,
Is a snooze you lose like one of those season 9, 10 episodes, or one of those later episodes?
it was from season 10.
Yeah, I figured because the newer episodes really love to do that. They really love to bring like incidental, like memorable, like incidental characters back for like
Well,
the thing.
now that there's such a fan base out there for the incidental characters, they can sneak them in here and there, and I think it's a little fun game that the animators on Twitter will kind of talk about incidentals and mention that they'll be in certain episodes and pay attention, and I kind of like that how they use them sparingly.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. And I also really like and I know it's sort of weird how I'm just pushing this aside, but I also really like kind of the childlike logic of this episode. 'Cause like as a child, like you could really feel what SpongeBob is feeling, like when he goes outside briefly to throw the trash away while screaming the whole time. Because I used to be terrified of the dark when I was young. I would like pay my brother like my allowance money just to like accompany me to like the hallway to the bathroom.
Oh my
And like how
goodness.
and like how when Squidward was describing like the story about like and the hash slinging flat, like another great visual joke is SpongeBob's face sinking into itself somehow or whatever. And now Squidward never goes like, oh, he's gonna like kill you or capture you. No, he's going to get you, which is
Yeah,
a good way to like kind of scare like a 5-year-old.
yeah, it's a very easy way to scare a young kid. And what's really nice too is that we've all been. We all at least can remember being a young kid being told your first like urban legend or the first time you were told about Bigfoot, the Loch
Yeah.
Ness monster. Like for
Uh-huh.
some kids, it's extremely terrifying to hear about some of these like urban legends, these monsters, the New Jersey Devil. So
It's a very easy story to relate to.
absolutely. Now, of course, the end gag here of this episode, and probably one of the more well-known gags in SpongeBob history, is that while they discover that the hash-slinging slasher is not real and was just Richard looking for a job for some reason at 3 in the morning and got in the bus,
Mhm.
which, if he did any research, the Krusty Krab isn't open, but maybe
Midnight
he
shift,
saw the giant neon sign on the other side of town. So,
It could be like he could be there for like the graveyard shift. Maybe Krabs somehow came to his senses and was like, maybe I should hire someone to like actually. Well, it's more money, but I don't more money to spend on someone, but I don't know.
He really should. He should just hire Richard. He came with his own spatula. I mean, how do you not hire that guy on the spot?
No, he came prepared.
He came prepared. But the lights in the Krusty Krab are so
Just flickering the
now as
lights.
they're talking to Richard here, they start understanding all of the little nuances. The phone was actually Richard calling the Krusty Krab to ask for a job, but he was too nervous, so that's why he wasn't really speaking on the other end.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, it's good. It's good things to foreshadow because if you notice, like the light sounds, and Squidward at first thinks like, okay, it's just the faulty electronics because again, maintenance and Krusty Krabs probably not good. But you distinctly hear like a flickering sound,
yeah, you
like
hear
the
it
sound
flickering.
of like a light switch flickering.
Yeah, somebody touching it, and when we look over, we see Max Shrek himself, Count Olork,
Yep,
Nosferatu,
as they call him.
flicking a light switch on and off, to which the characters in a nice little, just in that the cartoonish way they can, just that little
Yeah,
playful, yeah,
like you little scoundrel.
Nosferatu, and we get a little smile out of the character. For those that don't know who Nosferatu is, I'm a massive cinephile. I'm not going to bore you about all the
Mhm,
movie knowledge, but um,
mhm.
Nosferatu is essentially the German version of Dracula. It's a 1922 silent horror film, and it is one of the most beloved horror films in the history of filmmaking. So definitely, if you like film and you like horror films, it's worth checking out. I think it still holds up, but it's a weird character to pull from and have as like this SpongeBob meme now.
There's a lot. There's already a lot to like get into Nosferatu, and we just started talking about him. But first, should we give like a very quick mention to Floorboard Harry?
Yeah, yeah, go ahead. We'll give the floor to Floorboard Harry.
Okay, so Floorboard Harry, I'm one of the writers. I think, yeah, Jay Lender, according to my notes. When he wrote this episode, before he was the one who pitched Nosferatu, but before that, he had the idea of like during SpongeBob's like at night montage, SpongeBob would offhandedly mention, and then I could deliver the mail to Floorboard Harry, and you just see some hand like grabbing the bag or whatever, like just some random character that had no setup, no introduction. But
Somehow
SpongeBob
lives under
apparently
the
knows.
Krusty Krab, and
Yeah, and then at the very end, it's revealed to be Floorboard Harry flicking the light switch, and it was just if they went with that ending, it would have just been kind of a okay, it would have just been like a very whatever, like maybe not as memorable. But the fact that Jay Lender was thinking, hey, you know what we should add in our kids show? We should add like the main villain from the 1902 German expressionist classic Nosferatu, and he pitched it to Steven Hillenburg himself, and Hillenburg loved the idea, and they like included it into the episode.
well, because they probably knew. I mean, even back then and today, the longer time has gone on, Nosferatu and the knowledge of him in the public eye is very small.
Oh yeah,
More
I'd
people
argue.
know about Nosferatu from this one SpongeBob gag than they do about the movie itself.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah, like this. I'd argue this episode was single-handedly responsible for bringing like, well, maybe not single-handedly, but like responsible for really bringing Nosferatu into like the public eye again, or at least introducing him to a new generation of kids or whatever.
And the
And
fact that they've kept Nosferatu as a part of SpongeBob lore, even making him a character in Camp Coral,
yeah, I was
it's
gonna.
one of those things that make me smile.
Not only that, but like going back to like that brief ending gag where he's like some character they're all inexplicably familiar with. My favorite part, the part that really makes it funny for me, is it's not only SpongeBob and Squidward, but also Richard. All three of them are like Nosferatu,
Yeah,
like
how
you
does Richard
scoundrel,
get
you pull,
involved with this?
you pull, yeah, like every like not Nosferatu is like a common jokester in like Bikini Bottom, I guess.
Well, the fact that he's a character in Camp Coral would lead me to believe that he does just live among those in Bikini Bottom, and maybe he just goes into homes at night and flickers the light switches and tries to spook
Yeah, yeah,
people. But then when he gets caught, people are like, "Ah, we got you, buddy, Nosferatu."
Cause when I was looking up on the SpongeBob wiki, I knew that I should clarify I don't really watch SpongeBob, like the new seasons or whatever, but sometimes on Twitter they're like, "You won't believe what the new SpongeBob just brought back," and they'd have like Nosferatu played by like someone in prosthetics who's like green screened in or whatever. But yeah, they'd have like Nosferatu show up occasionally, and when I learned that Nosferatu is also in Camp Coral, I was like, "What? Is he like a kid or something?" And they made like a cartoonier like looking design, like it's not a live action actor playing him.
No, but it's one of the it's one of the gags that really got me and made me like appreciate Camp Coral for what it was. Like it just I got to, hey, I got to laugh at something at SpongeBob related, so I would appreciate that.
I don't really, yeah, I don't watch Camp Coral. I don't keep up with any of those like spin-off shows or whatever.
Yeah, there's already so much television out there and so much to pay attention to. I don't blame you. Um, Sharky, thank you for coming on and watching Graveyard Shift with me. I mean, we both said this is one of our favorite SpongeBob episodes. There's
Yeah.
not much more I could say, and you could say that other than like if you've never seen this episode, do yourself a favor and watch it.
Oh yeah, it's such an iconic episode. Like I was shocked when months ago, like a year ago, when I was on the wait list of like episodes that are free, episodes that are available. I was shocked that Graveyard Shift was for the taking.
Yeah, you took that one early on, so I'm glad that we got to save it for you this entire time.
And also, can we mention just the great run of episodes we have? Because just like the previous week was like Band Geeks and like with stuff like the Secret Box, and then like just a really great run of like episodes.
I think everything up through season 3 is just it's a slow climb up. I don't think there's really any stinkers or duds ahead, which I'm really thankful for.
It's such a golden period of like television. It's just it's like very lightning in a bottle. Just the right people at the right time, like right writers, voice actors, like animate, like the right everything just went right for these 3 seasons.
It's a perfect mix, and I think you can recreate that recipe, and I think you can even do your own recipe that tastes similar to the original stuff while also
Yep.
being original yourself. SpongeBob, at this point, everyone knows the characters. I'm
Uh-huh.
always excited to see what new hands can do with the show.
Right, exactly. All right, that's about all I really have to say about
Yeah.
Graveyard Shift.
Do you have any places people can check your stuff out?
Yeah, you could check out my YouTube channel, link in the description, called Am a Crazy Shark. I haven't really uploaded anything in months at this point. Hopefully I'll change that soon, but yeah, also on my YouTube channel there's like some Twitter letterbox things because I watch lots of movies too. You don't have to put those on the description. Like it's on my channel, whatever.
No, hey, anything that you wanna show off, I'll be happy to help promote that at any time. So, thank you for coming on. Thank you for being a part.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, anytime, man. I can't wait to see how the whole movie comes about. Be sure
Yeah.
to keep an eye out for Sharky's scene. Don't forget, right in the bathroom with a thug tug, and we'll
Mhm.
have you on again at some point, man.
All right, thank you. I'd love to. All right.
Hey, we'll talk to you soon.
All right, see you later.
Magic Conj, will I ever get to meet Tom Kenny?
Maybe someday.
Oh, so you're saying there's a chance. Okay. Should I tell fans of the show how they can support us?
Yes.
Goofy Goobers, supporting the show is shockingly easier than catching a blue jellyfish. Right from our anchor page, anchor.fm/SpongePod, you can find links to all of our social media and a support button if you happen to have a few extra clams. Also follow us on twitch.tv/SpongeBobPodcast, where it's not only the official home to our sister show, Video Bob Game Pants, it's also where I stream live drawings of various Nickelodeon characters and host the opportunity for commissions and giveaways. Lastly, the official merchandise store is now open at redbubble.com/people/SpongePod, where various designs will be uploaded inspired by our show, including our official logo, which is now available on a multitude of products like t-shirts, stickers, duvet covers, and even a shower curtain. This is a podcast by a fan, for fans, and will always be fan-driven. Any way you see fit on supporting our show is much appreciated. Thank you, and enjoy.